This is Romanosky from Calgary, Canada, and this is a continuation of my video blog series on managing your vehicle ownership life cycle. And in this video, I wanted to talk about what happens at the end of the life cycle when you want to sell your car and what your options are and how best to maximize the value and the equity you have in one of your major purchases. Okay. So sadly, this is taking place during the COVID pandemic, and it may be a very relevant topic, especially for those with luxury cars that can't be viewed as a necessity. So essentially, you can break it down into wholesale and retail. Wholesale is where you go to your dealer and trade the car in, or just ask them to buy it outright. And retail would be where you take on the marketing of the car and put it in the Autotrader or Kijiji and try to sell the car yourself. The difference, of course, is the spread between the wholesale and retail value of the car, which can be considerable. Okay, so of course everybody would love to just drop the car off the dealer and get fair market value for the car. And that needs to be weighed against how much less the dealer would pay on a wholesale basis relative to what you could get on your own. From the dealer's perspective, it's harder than you might think to make money selling used cars. For one thing, the cars need to go through the shop, and the shop, we have legislated in Alberta AMVIC inspections. And these are taken very seriously, and the techs who sign off on them can be legally liable if there's something that they missed on the car. And there's no tech or no service manager, at least to my knowledge, in the reputable dealers that would ever really take shortcuts on that, because it can mean their jobs, and it could even mean their livelihood. I mean, if you are a tech and you overlook some obvious item for whatever reason and the car gets in an accident, they can actually pull your certificate and you can't work anymore. So the dealerships have to go through that process, okay? And if the dealership's taking one of their own cars back, like at Porsche, if you sold a car to us at Porsche, well, it would have to be brought up to the standards that Porsche Canada and Porsche AG wants, which is very, very high, which means the reconditioning on those cars, can be $10,000 or $20,000 on the cars, on an expensive car. So the dealer has to keep that in mind. They have to also keep in mind how long it's going to take them to sell it. Some of these luxury cars that can sit on the lot for a year before you find the right buyer. The cars, of course, depreciate every month. So the dealer then is weighing the wholesale price of the car, either a trade-in or a strict cash sale, against the likely reconditioning cost, and also how long it's going to take them to sell the car, and then what the market will be like when they finally do sell it, which may be months or even a year after they take it in. Now, it's different on a high-end luxury sports car than on a Honda Civic or something like that. So the spread between wholesale and retail is a lot different depending on what kind of a car it is. Okay, so on a car that is a late model Korean or Japanese car that's made in volume, the market is fairly easy to see. Every week in the auctions, there will be tens or hundreds of these cars going through, which the dealers can all access. The cars may still be under warranty. The servicing of the cars isn't that expensive, and they sell pretty quickly. So just to throw numbers out there, if you buy a $15,000 Honda Civic that's 2 or 3 years old, that doesn't have any glaring cosmetic problems, you might be quite happy taking $3,000 under retail for that car. So in other words, if you buy it for 15, maybe you advertise it for 19 and you might sell it for 18.5 or something like that. That would be a typical example. And the dealer taking in that 2-year-old Honda Civic or 3-year-old Honda Civic or Sienna minivan or something will know that there's a big market for those cars on the used market. They'll know that the reconditioning will probably be very slight, or at least very obvious. They can see it. There's probably no hidden surprises. And if they do have to perform the annual maintenance on the car, the semi-annual maintenance on the car, it won't be expensive. So that's a car with low risk, high turnover, and the dealer would, and it's very competitive, and the dealer should come within, $3,000 of a retail price. The consumer might look on Autotrader and see the cars for $19,000 and go to the dealer and have the dealer offer them $15,000 for the car. Also, it's a topic for another video, but the dealer might take some of the profit from the car that they're selling you, if in fact it's a trade-in, and show you a little bit more for your trade if they felt that was important for you, and take it out of the profit of the car that you're buying. Okay, but that would be an example where you've got a low risk transaction for the dealer, and the wholesale and retail numbers wouldn't be that far apart. When you trade in the car, you get the GST credit, that 5% of the value of the car, and you could decide that for the $2,000 or $3,000 that you might potentially lose, that trading in the car at the dealer actually makes a lot of sense because of its convenience. Okay. On the other end of the scale, there could be a car that has a very thin market. Maybe the dealer only sells a few of them in a year. Maybe the car has something unusual in its history. Maybe the car is an unusual color or has unusual options, where you could be reasonably assured that you'd sell your black or silver or white Honda Civic with low kilometers that's a couple of years old in 3 or 4 weeks. The bright red Bentley 4-seat sedan that might have unusual options and a clashing interior color. You might be sitting on that car for 2 years before you sell it. Okay. Also, cars are every car is in a different part of its depreciation curve. If the car is very new, it depreciates quite quickly. But if the car is 5 or 10 years old, well, then the depreciation curve flattens out. So in other words, if you take let's just pick a car here, $150,000 Range Rover that's 1 year old, that car is depreciating pretty quickly. Maybe as much as $20,000 per year, or over $1,500 a month every month you have it in stock. Okay. If you buy a 5-year-old Toyota Tacoma pickup truck, well, it probably doesn't depreciate at all. Okay, so, and somebody's going to buy it next month. Okay, so the dealers have to assess this risk, and that would be why if you have a specialty car and you go to one of the luxury dealers, that you get offered a number that's substantially less than what you're seeing advertised privately. So it could be that let's just pick on this Range Rover for a second. I mean, that a high-end Range Rover might be $170,000, and one that's a year old, I mean, you might see them advertised for $150,000, but the dealer only wants to pay, maybe $130,000 for the car, or even $125,000 for the car. Okay, they hope they make a profit, but it's easy to get stung on these cars if you're a car dealer. It's harder than you might imagine to run or manage a used car operation. And at the end of the year, if you average 10% on your cars and you turn them every couple of months, well, then you're a pretty good operator. It's harder than it looks for that. Okay, so let's say that you went to the dealer and you just couldn't stomach that much of a loss on the car, or you thought that the price was excessively conservative. And because we're in the middle of COVID, if you do need to sell your car and you do need to go to the dealer, after COVID dies out, those numbers are going to be conservative. And if you just felt that the dealer was being excessively conservative, and you were just leaving too much money on the table, well, then you'd have to decide to sell your car yourself. And what does that look like? Okay. Well, right now, we have Autotrader, which has been around forever, which was a magazine that went online. And we have Kijiji Autos, and Kijiji Autos is owned by eBay. And they're throwing a lot of money at that Kijiji Autos right now. And I'm very confident we'll see that be an equal competitor to Autotrader. It's interesting that Autotrader used to charge to put your car in their magazine, and then they used to charge if you wanted to put their car online. What they figured out is that they made more money by monetizing the traffic to their website than they actually did selling the listings. So when you want to list your car for free, or when you want to list your car on Autotrader or Kijiji, at least for the first couple of cars, it's free. Okay. So it doesn't cost anything to list. It used to cost a couple $100. Now, when you put your car up on those two platforms, there's people that view those who are looking to buy a car for their own personal use. Well, there's also all the dealers and the car flippers who want to try to buy your car too, to sell it to somebody else and make a profit. So when you put your ad up on one of these two platforms, it's very easy, it's very quick, but then you get probably 70 or 80% of all the inquiries, or maybe even more than that, are not from people that want to buy the car so they can use it for their own personal use. They are car dealers who are looking for inventory. They are other companies that want to market your car on another platform, and that they want to ask you, if you're advertising on Autotrader or Kijiji, maybe you want to advertise with them. And they are all kinds of middlemen and brokers and dealers in the middle who will all contact you. Now, what they do is they will simply contact everybody. And they'll probably have like a standing template or whatever to just ask if you want to take 20% less than your asking price. Okay, these guys, well, they're everybody's entitled to make a living, and as they see fit. They're not telling you they're from a car dealer, which is kind of the annoying part. They're pretending to be, oh, I need it for myself, for my mom, for my wife, or whatever. Okay, but they're not. They're car dealers. Some of the car dealers will hire some agencies, and they'll just go through all the new listings. And I bet they probably send out 200 or 300 emails a day, and they'll just say, "Oh, we're interested in cars just like yours, and give us a call back." You call them back, and they say, "Bring your car to our used car center and have one of our people appraise it for you." Okay, well, obviously they don't know that they have a car just like mine. I advertised once a 61 Land Rover project that was in 1 million pieces, and I got a response back that there were all these people looking for a car just like that one, even though it would take 1,000 hours to put it back on the road. Okay, so they're not being discriminate. They don't have a buyer for your car. They're just looking to send out a couple hundred emails a day, and if 10 or 15 of these people wind up responding and taking their cars to the used car dealer, who knows where, then maybe they can buy some used cars that way. Okay, so I know in the States, Carvana, which is an online used car shopping website, they'll also go to the Autotrader and just try to buy cars, although they're a little bit more straightforward. They actually tell you who they are. Okay, so if you're selling your car, you have to navigate that, and then there's scammers too, and you have to navigate those people as well. So this will always be some sort of a weird story, and they're buying it for their daughter, or they're working offshore on an oil platform, and do you have Google escrow, which doesn't exist, some weird funny funny story, and they'll always volunteer to give you money or send it to your PayPal, whatever it is. And I think they're fairly easy to pick up on. If you have a volume car and somebody from New York wants this car very badly to buy your Honda Civic, well, I mean, that's fairly clear. There's lots of Honda Civics in New York, and you have to, you import the car and change the, instrument cluster and do a whole bunch of other things to get it there. So an out of province area code is one giveaway, I think. Although there's ways around that where they can use an Alberta area code. But generally, the way people buy a car is this. They ask you a bunch of questions about it. They ask to see the Carfax about it. They come to view the car. They offer you a lowish offer, which is the start of the negotiations. And then they go get a certified check and give it to you and drive off in the car. If it's anything other than that, you have a good reason to be suspicious about it. I mean, obviously, there's some, if you're selling a late model exotic car with no kilometers, it might be that the person doesn't come to look at the car, they just wire you the money. There's exceptions. But for the vast majority of cases, if the proposed sale doesn't go in that format, where they ask a bunch of questions, come to look at the car, get the car inspected if you don't have one, negotiate, and then drive off, it's probably a scam. So you have to weigh, is it worth going through all of that to sell your car? Taking photographs of the car, I mean, you have to detail it and make it look nice and get good photographs of the car, write a description. You'd want to pull the bill of sale, get all the different optional equipment, explain all that optional equipment, and you can do a video as well. So that's not too much work. Navigating through the daily emails is a little bit of a pain. Okay, I'll give you that. That said, it's not insurmountable, and it's generally you'll wind up selling the car. It may not be for that much more than you would trading in at the dealership, depending on what kind of car it is. I think because of COVID, though, what people will be very nervous about taking trades, and very conservative. The dealers will also have new cars that they need to sell. So if you're trading in a car and buying a new car, at least you can get a pretty healthy discount on the new car as well. From what I've seen, everything's probably gone down about 15%. Any new car on a dealer lot, at least one that's replaceable, is probably worth about 15% less than it was. And this is mid-April now in 2020. And that will have the effect of probably lowering the value of all the used cars as well. Okay, so but with COVID, I think if you just want to unload a car, not buy a new car and just sell it, you can expect some very conservative numbers from the dealers whose lots are full of cars that they have been unable to sell for a few months. So I would say, in summary, there could be other options as well, besides listing it yourself and dealing with everybody on Kijiji or Autotrader, or selling it to the dealer. There could be intermediaries, such as myself, or there's bound to be other people as well who were willing to do that work for you. So you need a high level of trust. Certainly, if there's large amounts of money flowing around, you want to make sure you know who you're dealing with. But it may be worth investigating those options. Let me also end this by saying it's really easy to buy a car. Cars are for sale everywhere, in just about every color and with every option you want. at any time. There's virtually no time in the year and no day of the month where you just can't go out and buy a car. Okay, there's probably a million cars sitting on the ground in Canada right now. Selling a car for the price that you want is actually fairly difficult. It can take a year if you've got a specialty car. So what I would suggest is that if you're looking at the end of the life cycle of the car that you're getting, and you're looking to buy a new car, that instead of shopping for the new car right away and then saying, oh, by the way, I have a trade, what will you give me for it? Probably a better way to do that, especially now with COVID, is to work on selling your car now and retaining as much equity as you can in it and getting as much money as you can for it now, with the confidence that when it does sell, it won't take you very long to buy your next car. Okay, if you are ordering a car, and there's lots of cars on the ground right now, so it would have to be a fairly specific car that you'd want a factory order right now. But if you did that, it would take normally, if it's a European car, 3 or 4 months or 5 months, could be longer with COVID, to get it. So you could order the car. You could ask the dealer what they'll pay for it and get a number for them as a reference, as a baseline. Okay. And then with that, say, well, I'm not sure that I'm going to trade it in or not. I may want to sell it myself. The dealer should be fine with that. And that would give you a full 5 months to try to sell this car on your own. Okay. So that is another option as well. So with that, I hope I've explained the difference between wholesale and retail, the reasons why that spread can be markedly different depending on what car it is, for reasons of not just the reconditioning and the dealer profit, but the estimated time to sell the car, and what to expect if you do decide to sell the car yourself on Kijiji or Autotrader, and maybe a way that you could maybe get the best of both worlds, and pay an intermediary to do that for you, and then still be ahead when it comes to the money in your pocket at the end of the day. So hope that was helpful too. Lawrence Romanosky from Calgary, Canada. Please like and subscribe and share. I'm looking to build the audience of this channel as much as possible over the next few months. Thank you. Bye-bye.